Good morning and welcome to the beautiful campus of Charleston Southern University. Before we start, I want to give all the honor to God for allowing us to be here today together in this exciting time for Charleston Southern University and Charleston Southern football. My name is Taylor Chitwood. I am the Associate Athletic Director for Communications and PR. Just a little rundown, I'll introduce our Athletic Director, Jeff Barber, and he will give a few words, and then he will introduce our new football coach, Gabe Giardina. I'd like to now welcome Mr. Barber to the podium.
Thank you, Taylor, and good morning. Good morning to everybody here. Thank you so much for coming. I look around the room. Would you raise your hand if you're a former player here? One of our lettermen? That's great. That's great. Got NFL great Charles James over there. Good to see you, man. We are so excited to have you guys here and to celebrate today. Before I begin, I want to recognize a few people, and I will start off by saying that Dr. Costin is out of the state, and that he will not be able to join us today. He would like to be here, but he's unable to. But I'd like to recognize Judy Hetz. Judy's on our front row. She's the chairman of our board of trustees, and also Dr. Jerry Hunter, sitting beside her, who obviously served as president here for 34 years. So we're so glad you guys could make it today. I also want to thank a number of other people, because when these kinds of things happen, it's always a joint effort. And I want to share some names with you guys of people that have gone through this process with us. Number one is Courtney Hall, our deputy AD and our chief of staff, who has been a terrific help and aid to me. When you're trying to hire a coach, there's a lot of other AD things that are going on as well. And she's been a tremendous help to me throughout this process. We did have a committee of people that met with Coach Giardina earlier, and I'd like to recognize and at least tell you who they are and say thank you to all of them. Dr. Costin was part of this group. Dr. Todd Heldreth, our FAR, Josh Ely, our Associate AD for External, Kerry Gomez, Associate AD for Academics, Taylor Chitwood, who was just up here, Associate AD for Communications, Cole Solmanetti, who's our Assistant AD for Compliance, Alex Redding, Assistant AD for Facilities, Pat Golden, Assistant AD for Marketing, Sponsorships, and Game Experience, and Brandon Gilbert, who's our Director of Strength and Conditioning. We had three head coaches that were on this committee as well, Christy Musser from softball, Jordan Jeffers golf, and Barkley Radeball from basketball. So on November the 14th, the search began to find a new head coach for our football program and for Charleston Southern. Obviously, there are standard parameters and standard things that you're looking for, and that's always begins with a Christian and having a godly coach, a coach that is not perfect, because none of us are, but a Christian coach and somebody that will lead this team in a spiritual way. And I know we have that in Gabe. One of the things that became very important to me, I've been here now 4.5 years, and something that I've learned over time is really just the importance of how finding somebody that had a knowledge and a history of Charleston Southern University and Charleston Southern athletics, I felt was extremely important. Every school, and I've served now at 5 different schools. Every one of them's different in its own way. It's all got things indigenous to itself. But I felt like at this time we really needed somebody that had been here before, that knew this school, knew what we were all about, knows the good and the bad, and just knows everything as much as they possibly can. And so there were actually 4 people that I talked to that had that kind of knowledge, had the kind of history. I felt were excellent football coaches, but then again were godly men. But at the end of those 4 conversations, and I told the team this, and I've told other ones this, we weren't going to rush this process. We're going to work and move as God directs, and when God speaks, I've got to listen, and I think we all have to do that, obviously. So after talking to those 4, there was one person that stood out that I felt like would be the best person for this job, and that was Gabe Giardina. And I think the separating factor, because all of them are great coaches, and I will tell you this, we had nearly 60 people apply for this job. We've had a former NFL head coach apply for this job. We've had FBS coaches apply for this job, guys that have won 10 games and won bowl games. They've applied for this job. We've had FCS head coaches that have been to the playoffs multiple times apply for this job. But at the end of the day, because of Gabe Giardina and who he is, I felt like he would be the best person. He's got a great history. When we came into the stadium and walked over to meet with the team at 9:30, it was very heartwarming to see him stop on the bricks and start pointing out names in the bricks of guys that he knew in Wimberley. Oops, I wasn't supposed to introduce her. His wife, and I tell you, this is a great family that's going to be part of this program too. Oh, I remember that kid. Boy, he was a great player. And as we're walking into the locker room, the mural up on the window outside the door, those were two great players right there. And that's the history and the knowledge that he has of this program. And then, again, a head coaching experience is extremely important, I felt, as well. So I want to read you or say a few things from his resume. You've probably already heard this. But it's more than this, okay? It's more than having a resume. So he went to Alabama. He played at Alabama. He was a walk-on. He played 9 games. In 9 games his senior year, he played there, worked there with Mike Shula and also Nick Saban. I told the team just a few minutes ago that a lot of what he does and who he is as a coach is made up of those people, but it's also made up of the other people he's worked with, and one of those was Jay Mills, who he worked with here as an assistant head coach and running back coach, special teams. Went to Delta State as offensive coordinator with Jamie Chadwell. Jamie came here, and then he was here for 6 years as our offensive coordinator. And at that time, let's not forget, this football program under the leadership of Hank Small was top 8 in the country. So it can be done here, and we do believe it's going to happen again. He left here, when he left here, he went to Albany State and had a great run at Albany State. So Albany State, if you don't know, is a Division II school in Albany, Georgia. It's an HBCU. Had great success down there. He had an overall record of 37-17, conference record of 26-5. He was the SIAC Coach of the Year. He's the SIAC champion. They made the Division II playoffs. They had the #1 defense in the country. In 2022, he was the co-head coach of the Legacy Bowl. The Legacy Bowl is a bowl game made up of the top draft picks from HBCU colleges around the country. So because of his excellent coaching and who he is as a person, he was chosen to be one of the coaches of that bowl game. So I'm going to borrow a line from the movie Maverick. He says, this is what he is, but not who he is. And when I say by that, what he is a football coach, but that's not who he is. He is a family man who's going to be preaching to the team and the community about loving each other and the team loving each other. So to do that, I want to share some comments because a lot of people, and I knew him when he was 7 years old. I was at East Carolina, and his dad was Frank Giardina. I've slipped up and called him Frank a couple times. I'm embarrassed to say that. Not that Frank, but his dad Frank. But 1987, I began working at East Carolina, and his dad was there, and Gabe was 6 and 7 years old. So I don't really remember him that much, but that's probably a good thing. It's kind of like officials, you know. If you don't know the officials are there, they've done a good job. But let me read a few comments to you. I'm going to start from Albany State, from their president. We would like to thank Coach G and his family, and I promise you that these 4 people over here are going to be a very big part of this football program. We would like to thank Coach G and his family for the tremendous care they took with each student athlete while assisting them in pursuing their full athletic and academic potential, said President Dr. Marion Ross Frederick. The passion that he and his family have, not only for football, but the success of our students is beyond compare. They have left their mark on our institution and will always be valued members of the Ramily, which they are the Rams, their family, they call themselves the Ramily. Their athletic director, Tony Duckworth, who I've had multiple conversations with, truly a class act guy and have great respect for him. Coach G has been an outstanding leader of our football program. We appreciate all he has done to build on the great tradition of ASU football and the relationships he developed with our student athletes and alumni. We are grateful for his tenure at ASU and support Coach Gabe as he moves into his new position. So I mentioned earlier that we had a committee of folks that met with Gabe, and I just want to read you some of their comments. This man was a member of a coaching team at CSU that somehow delivered more with less. He knows how to motivate players to believe and to achieve. The next one, Gabe is the man for the job. Another one, the candidate understands CSU. I think he would be a great fit for the athletic department and team. Another one, I felt Gabe had a great firsthand understanding of CSU and CSU athletics and what they are all about, and his ability to communicate all that with us was important. Moreover, his ability to do more with less while fostering a consistently successful football program, I feel make his candidacy a great addition to CSU football, CSU athletics, and our campus community. I am impressed with Gabe and what he has done with his program at Albany State. It sounds like he could have a great formula to win here at CSU. And then one that I think is probably the best one that would wrap up everything that I've said. Gabe is a perfect fit for Charleston Southern University. So it's all about fit. It's got to be a fit in our direction to him and a direction from him to us. If you'll turn your attention just for a moment, I've asked someone we all know and love to send a little bit of a verbiage to us on Gabe. He was hoping to be here today, but he was unable to make this. So I'm not sure who's hitting the button. Taylor? All right, thank you.
Charleston Southern has hit a home run with the hiring of Game Giardina. Gabe and Wimberly are unbelievable people. The thing that makes Gabe special is his love for Jesus and his love for others. He will be ultimately successful at Charleston Southern because he'll love the people in the program. He'll recruit the right people that fits the culture and fits the expectation of Charleston Southern. Bug Nation's going to be excited about him and his family and the staff that he'll put together. He's a winner through and through. He was a big part of the success that we experienced there from 2013 to 2016. I have no doubt he will bring that same success back to Exit 205B. Gabe loves the Buccaneers. He loves Charleston Southern, and this is a home run hire for Jeff Barber and the administration.
All right, thank you. I want to say one thing before. I want to say a thank you to Zane, Coach Zane Vance, for his leadership as interim head coach in the process of making this happen, and our coaching staff for all they've done to continue things rolling. Thank you, Coach. Would you join me in welcoming our head football coach, Gabe Giardina?
Oh, man. Whew. Wow. Yeah, I was doing great, and then you Coach Chadwell up there, and it. Whew. When you just see one of your great friends validate the effort that you've been putting in for the Lord, not for anything else. Man, it's special. Look, I want to thank everybody that is here. I want to thank my wife, first and foremost. This is Wimberly up here, okay? You can't cry because I'm going to cry. And please give her a hand. Please give her a hand, okay? She'll be the first lady of Charleston Southern football. She'll be down there with Dr. Hunter, being the touchdown coach. These are my three boys here. This is Frank. He's named after my dad. De'Ara is named after Wimberly's dad, and then Whit down there. Yeah, he's he likes the attention. So he'll be the one that throws the ball onto the field on third down at some point and gets us a penalty. But big thing for us and our family. When I went to Albany State, I actually took that job on Frank's birthday, and believe it or not, in 2 days it is Whit's birthday. So how about that? So happy birthday, Whit! And I give him a hard time about that. Look, I'd like to thank Dr. Costin and Jeff Barber and Courtney and just the entire search committee, the entire Charleston Southern family that has just so greatly impacted my career and my time and my development as a coach and just who I am as a man. Wouldn't be here today without people like Coach Small and just the things I learned over the 8 years that I was here before. I'd like to thank my Albany State family, Dr. Art Dunning and Cherie Gordon, who took his chance on me 6 years ago when I had never been a head coach and didn't know them we were perfect strangers. And then Dr. Marion Federick and Tony Duckworth, who have come in to lead Albany State and have supported me through just everything we've tried to do with our players. And a lot of things, I'm just being honest with you, Albany State is a state school. It's as public an institution as there is, and we have run that thing like we would run it here. We're putting Jesus first and prayed with those players and put God at the center of that thing, and it was really special. And I'd like to thank all the players and the assistant coaches that I've had there over the last 6 years. Just countless lives changed, including my own, and perspectives and things I've learned from those young men, but also to be able to win 3 Eastern Division championships, conference championships, and go to the playoffs and actually host a playoff game there. To be ranked that high, to be able to do that was just really special for our family, and I think for all those players, and very validating for what we were trying to do. I'd like to thank Jay Mills, who really gave me my undergraduate probably in coaching, especially here. I did 4 years. I graduated on time. Coach Mills and Miss Kim have been faithful friends to us even beyond coaching here, and continue to know them very well. Obviously, I'd like to thank Jamie in getting my second degree here. It took me 4 years to get the second degree, so it took me a little time to get my master's right. But Jamie really taught us how to win here, and created a culture here that was sustainable. And man, it was a sweet 4 years in our life. And you just look at all those lessons, and you see how God's preparing you to move forward. God, most importantly, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who put this coaching passion and birth, calling is what I always call it, in my mind as a young kid. Some people say, well, I was called to being a pastor at 8 years old, right? I can remember watching Joe Montana throw to Jerry Rice in the doggone Super Bowl at 8 years old and thinking, I don't want to throw the pass, I want to call the play. And so just knew that I've always wanted to coach. And I really, my thing is that coaching is a calling. This has never been a job. I haven't worked a day in my life. There's so many people in my room, people in this room that we went to work every day, and it was never hard. It was always fun to show up and to do it. And there's this saying in coaching. I call it the coach's cop-out. It says that the livelihood of the coach is dependent on the effort and the execution of 18 to 22-year-old men. It's really an excuse. I've always in my mind, I want to flip the script, and we're going to flip it here. That those 18 to 22-year-old men, guess what? Their heart, their eternal destination, and who they are as young men is dependent on me and the staff and our effort and our attitude and the way we honor God and this guy named Jesus Christ with our approach to our relationships, how we coach them, and the way we push them. Look, it's got to be more than just a football foundation. And that's what's so exciting about being here at Charleston Southern, is that we get to put a spiritual foundation in unashamedly. We really do that no matter where we go, right, Wimberly? Sometimes we got to go incognito on it, but guess what? Here we don't have to be. We're going to be out front. We're going to have the Lord out front of this thing. We're going to immerse this thing in prayer, all right? Because that's really the most important thing, is to see where God's going to take this thing. We're obviously going to strive to have strong academics, and we've had a great academic plan back at Albany State that we feel like has been really successful. I'm excited to recruit students that are really academically driven, and be at an institution where academics is so important. And then obviously there's a reason, Brooks, that we keep score. We want to win. Okay? As I just told the team, I said, when you wake up on Sunday morning and we want you to go to church after the game, when you win the ball game, the food tastes better, my wife is prettier, I'm more handsome, okay? And all those aches and pains, Joe Gold, right? They just don't hurt quite as bad, all right? And I just can't minimize that as well. We want to do it all, and that's important. The player's number one job here, all right, it's pretty simple, but it's going to remain the same. That's just to love each other intentionally. It's going to be the coach's job to be transformational in their relationships with these players, and I appreciate the guys who are here in the back of the room. It already shows me that you're buying in. I appreciate that, okay? But we're going to coach the heart first. And if we can capture the heart and mind by investing in these guys' lives, then guess what? We'll get the mind, we'll get the body. They'll do things and go places that they didn't know that they could go. And that'll make the difference not only on Saturday, but in their life when it's hard. We've been through a lot of hard things in the last 6 years at Albany State. The pandemic, we've all been through that, right? Hurricane Michael absolutely devastated Albany, Georgia. Almost turned us into almost a third world type of an area. We had FEMA everywhere, and we had no running water, and it was really hard. It was right in the middle of the season. We experienced the death of a teammate, which was just absolutely tragic and accidental, and it was because Christ got us through those things that we were able to come out and give him glory on the other side. To the high school coaches in this state, I want you to know how excited I am to be back. I want you to know how excited I am to put as many coaches as possible in this state to recruit the great state of South Carolina. I want you to know that we're going to come see you when you have players and when you don't have players, because that's what real relationship is about. Recruiting for us, we want to find guys that can come here, but also when you got godly men on your staff, it's also a chance to help coaches who are going through a hard time and need a little. They may need prayer, they may need counsel, they may just need somebody to complain to, but we won't take their complaints up to the administration. And finally, the community, the alumni, the former players. Whew. We're on Zoom yesterday, right, CJ? Right, JW? And your passion for Charleston Southern is really unmatched. I want to give you a team. We want to give you a team that you can be so proud of, that you love rolling in, all right, to Whitfield Stadium and watching those guys play. That has fun. Maybe not at practice, Choco. But that honors the Lord most of all. But I want us to get our swagger back. Hey, when we score, we need to celebrate. And we need to celebrate in a big way. All right? We don't want to get a penalty, but we want to get real close, okay? And I want you to know we want to be a bright, bright light in this community. I was one of the things that really, in the interview process, got me so excited is these community days that Jeff and your staff have been putting together. I almost thought about it like the 5 boroughs of New York. We got Goose Creek, Somerville, North Charleston, Lansing, and Hanahan, and this greater Berkeley County area, right? We want to be Berkeley County, North Charleston, this area's team. We want to be supported by the local businesses and the folks. We want them to know that, hey, the doors are open and we got something exciting going on here, not just on football Saturdays, but in the Buck Dome and every other weekend that we're playing sports here. And so we want to see you in the seats. I'm going to come eat at your restaurants, and I'm going to come ask you to come buy a ticket, pay full price to come watch these guys because they deserve it. They go out there every single day and put it on the line for that blue and gold jersey, for that Bucky logo on the side of that helmet. And that's a special thing when you can see guys that have put bricks, literal financial donations into this place. And I want you guys to be proud of that. And most importantly, and more than anything, we want to honor God here as we do it. We really want to push the Lord to make this thing immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine. So with that, I don't know if you guys want to do questions or anything like that at this time, but I can't tell you how excited I am to be back and be the head coach here at Charleston Southern University. Thank you.
Thank you. I will do this, a little off script. We are going to have time for the media here and just 2 or 3 questions that anybody would like to ask.
I would say that certainly a bunch of young men that from Georgia and really from South Carolina, one of the best players that we've had for the last 4 years because of coaching right back in high school. So we know how good the talent is around here, and we're excited to go through. I talked to Game Giardina yesterday and Steve Blanchard, Charleston Southern Hall of Famer, and they're both just excited. They're both head coaches here in the Low Country. And just excited that we can make it.
His job is to get a lot more Charleston. I think I said it all, but Charles back there. When I was at South Carolina, the AD, we hired Dave Odom as the men's basketball coach, and he introduced him to a huge crowd as please welcome our next head football coach, Dave Odom. So I'm glad I said football, not basketball. Okay, well, thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate your prayers for him.
Guys, again, we want to appreciate everybody for coming. Media or anybody, if you'd like to stay back, ask a few questions. I'm here at the backdrop. Again, everybody have a blessed day today, and go Bucks.